What is up? I'm NYJohn, and this is the coverage of the Sunday Evening Cup Series presented by NYJohn.com. First round, we have Rampage Dota versus Can You Ring members. I know it says We Love Moon Queen, but that's not actually their name. And of course, Can You Ring, a team that when I casted 2 weeks ago, we got to see them really dominate the performance and take the SECS 18.2, I believe that was, or 18.1, whatever. They restructured it a little bit, I believe. And now we get to see them again, see what they can do against Rampage, who I'm not really familiar with, but some of the names do look vaguely familiar. So hopefully we have a good game on our hands here. Early bans coming out pretty predictable. Batrider and Magnus. Then we see Undying, as well as Nyx Assassin, a hero that has definitely made into the fray a little bit more as of late. And here we go. First pick is going to be Bounty Hunter. Not too out of the ordinary. He was left in the pool, which you don't always see him get through those banning stages. So for him to be first picked is pretty usual. And now the response probably going to be a combination of Darkseer and Jakiro. In all likelihood, they could pick up a TA here too if they like to. I think Jakiro, maybe the hero we see come out in a moment though. Darkseer and Jakiro work so well together, bringing the vacuum into an ice wall potentially. It's just a lot of AoE disable that can work perfectly in team fights. That being said, giving up TA with a Bounty Hunter, she's a hero that can take advantage of that extra move speed from track, really take advantage of the minus armor as well, and get things going in a big way. So they're actually going to opt for Keeper of the Light. Interesting choice there. And now Shadow Demon picked up by Can You Ring, and waiting on their third selection to round it up. So far, Bounty Hunter and Shadow Demon. We do see some unorthodox picks occasionally in SECS competition. Of course, this is an amateur competition. There are prizes at the end of the season, so don't want to belittle it in that regard. But sometimes some teams like to practice some off-the-radar strategies. Shadow Demon and Keeper Light, of course, pretty normal. I'm just warning because we will see occasionally some nice, different hero selections come out. And the third hero here, I mean, it could be a whole slew of possibilities. So we'll just have to wait and see what Can You Ring has in mind. Last time I saw them, they're really high on Gyrocopter. They're actually going to pick up Naga Siren, though. And this is another hero that we've seen drop off a little bit. But she has a lot of great utility in that her ultimate is very powerful. And still being able to go through BKB with stuff like Net. Has extra minus armor, so works well in conjunction with Bounty Hunter. And the counter pick is going to be Sven. So Sven, Keeper Light, and Darkseer. Very sound selections there for the Dire team. Rampage Dota and the Radiant. Going to try and make something happen with Naga Siren. The problem is that her base damage is very low. If they throw an aggressive tri-lane against her, it's hard for her to get some farm going, or even a strong off-laner. So we'll have to see how they structure these lanes as well. And I'm not sure if they necessarily want to put that much farm on her. It's going to be interesting to see how they try and use this hero. And we're waiting on the third ban. Actually, Lena's taken out by Can You Ring members. And now we're waiting on the ban from Rampage Dota. So, they could both opt to take out some supports here. Beastmaster long lane option going to be taken out. He's also used his solo mid, of course. So not a bad idea, since that it looks like solo mid is going to be one of the areas that Can You Ring members is going to look for. Now, fourth ban coming up from Can You Ring members. Let's see if they stick with these extra supports. I mean, Keeper of the Light's already in there. Darkseer could go to the jungle if need be. They might want to look to some off-laners, potentially, or some solos. Of course, you don't want to ban yourself out in that regard. And here goes Leshrac. So, going to continue down that route, take out some more supports. Fourth ban out, coming in a moment from Rampage Dota. And well, they started off with a Beastmaster. I could see Queen of Pain coming down here. They're actually going to take out Bane. So both teams going a little bit off the radar. Now, fifth ban coming out from Can You Ring. So eager to get this game going and actually be underway. This was actually one of the fastest startups we've had in a couple weeks of casting SECS. Teams were in here by 5:05 and really got rolling. We had a couple delays the last time I was in, so very pleasant surprise. And I want to wish everyone happy holidays around this time of year. Hopefully you're all enjoying yourselves. And it's going to be a Rubik band. So the final band from Can You Ring members, the Radiant team. I know it says We Love Moon Queen, but I'm going to go by what they have listed in the SCCS tournament. And it is Can You Ring members, and they did win 2 weeks ago. So perhaps the favorites in this matchup. I'm not sure if Rampage was involved in the tournament last week. They very well could have been. I think the format may have changed this week too. We'll have to see all that as we move on forward. Rampage with their final band, Takeout, Templar, Assassin. And that's going to round it up for bands. Back into picking. What are they going to try to put on the back end of this Naga Siren Bounty Hunter Shadow Demon?
10 seconds.
Naga Siren, of course, a hero that requires a lot of farm. I mean, she's very vulnerable early on. Bounty Hunter, more of an aggressive hero. We'll see how they work in conjunction with each other. Perhaps Naga Siren going to go for some earlier geared items, maybe Vanguard, or we see Arcane Boots occasionally on the more aggressive Naga Sirens that want to be able to output that consistent damage with the Riptide. But I do like the utility factor of being able to net through BKB. I mean, that's one of the things that a lot of teams emphasize is being able to kite heroes like Sven, and of course, being able to use track as well as net is going to allow you to do that effectively. And on top of that, even now that I consider it, they also have Demonic Purge, which is another skill that goes through that BKB and can effectively slow down Sven and essentially mitigate his extra damage when God Strength is active. And he's charging around trying to slice everyone's head off. They're taking their time on this fourth pick, going into reserve time down to around 23 seconds. And they're going to pick up Shadow Fiend.
Dire team pick.
Interesting pick. Shadow Fiend, a carry that doesn't have any escapes. We'll see if they want to put him in the middle lane. Maybe with a support. I could see him working pretty well with Shadow Demon. But Shadow Fiend against the Sven, not a favorable matchup in most circumstances. So really curious to see how they're going to implement this lineup and try and get things going. But of course, like I mentioned earlier, we get to see a wide variety of heroes in SECS competition, which is always pleasant. And now fourth pick coming out from Rampage in a moment here. Already have Darkseer, Keeper of the Light, and Sven. Going to be looking for a solo perhaps. And depending on whether they want to put the Darkseer, if they're going to put him in the off lane, then they could be looking for a jungler or a second support. A decent amount of options have been taken out by their opposition, so we'll have to see what they end up going for. Queen of Pain still in the pool. She's a hero that can 2v1 decently. No hero really excels at 2v1, but she can manage if that middle lane does turn into a dual lane. And of course, with that burst damage, before Shadow Fiend is able to get up a BKB, she can do quite a number on all those heroes involved. But Jakiro's going to be the pick as he was still in the pool, which is quite odd considering they did opt to ban out a lot of supports. For Jakiro to make it into the second picking phase is very unique. And they're going to pick him up in an instant. And like I mentioned earlier, Darkseer and Jakiro being able to vacuum everyone into a potential ice path is a very valuable asset. So not surprised to see them pick him up. So just the chain damage that comes out purely based on skills, having vacuum, ice path, and then Keep It Alight with Illuminate Blast. It's definitely a lot, and you know how Darkseer works in conjunction with Sven, of course. Bringing everyone together and getting off that nice Stormhammer is already a nice mini combo between the two heroes. But everything else in the back end of it, it looks like Rampage Dota are poised to have a really strong team fight. That being said, if Shadow Fiend can get his ultimate off perfectly on the back end of Naga Siren, Song of the Siren ult, who knows if the team fight will be available for the taking. Nature's Prophet going to be the final pickup from Can You Ring. And that means we're down to our last pick here. Rampage Dota going to try and round up this lineup. And it looks like they're going to need a solo middle hero. This Nature's Prophet poised perhaps to go into the jungle, I'd say. But I have been wrong before. Thanks for everyone that's tuning in. And we're about to get going in this game once Rampage picks up their final hero. We are on a 3-minute delay, so no concerns for anything along those lines. And Rampage going to take their time here, dropping into their extra time. Still saved up a good amount of it. They have a lot of stuns, a good amount of disables, good burst damage. Queen of Pain, probably one of the more likely selections. I keep double checking to make sure she's not banned out as I say that, but she isn't. They're going to pick up Invoker, so that was the other thing that crossed my mind. I think this has to be a Quas Wex Invoker for the sheer control that they'll need. I don't think they can really run an Exhort Invoker, especially against heroes like Bounty Hunter and Nature's Prophet. That would be very risky. So, probably going to bank on that being a Quas Wex Invoker. And here we go, live into the game now. Go over who's playing what on each team. For Rampage, we have Power on Invoker, Choryu on Darkseer, Ice Water on Jakiro, Mishi playing Sven, and Boobsies on Keeper of the Light.
Let's keep it clean.
And
folks.
for our Radiant team, I need to lower that volume in a moment. Let's get rid of that first. Master volume sneaks up occasionally. So for our Radiant team, as we have a quick pause early on, we have Han Cholo on Shadow Demon, Confused on Bounty Hunter, Exuent on Shadow Fiend, Splinter on Nature's Prophet, and Cotton McKnight on Naga Siren. And hopefully this pause doesn't last all too long. This is SCCS. I'm NYJohn. Thank you for tuning in. We have Rampage Dota versus Can You Ring? Rampage Dota team I don't know that much about, but credit to them. They have matching icons. So,
Alright, carry on.
that's cool. And here we go. Darkseer setting up to go into the off lane. Middle is going to be Invoker, as you would suspect. He does have the setup for Quas Wex. Yep, Quas Wex with that early Blaze of Attack. Top lane is going to be a tri-lane. And oftentimes I say Keeper Light is really nice to have in a tri-lane on the top because he can manage well in the jungle. He gets a good amount of farm just using Illuminate and stacking creeps. We've seen players like Beatis really make a living off of doing that, as well as many others. So I like having that ability to not only be present in the lane, but also get some farm on your support heroes, despite the fact that they're not really natural jungle support heroes. Looks like Shadow Demon's going to go to the bottom with Naga Siren. Nothing too unordinary. Looks like everyone's where they're supposed to be. And I guess the question's going to be how well Darkseer can do in this top lane. They drop down a Sentry here just to counter ward, but it looks like there are no wards up quite yet. They'll save the second Sentry for the lane. And Darkseer's got to be a little bit, Bounty Hunter's got to be a little bit careful up here, as there are an abundance of disables, as we noted earlier. So we'll see what Bounty Hunter can make out of this off lane. It's not going to be the easiest in the middle. Shadow Fiend does pick up an early double damage, so this will help him a lot against Invoker. Once he gets up those soul counts, he's going to be able to compete very effectively. As I mentioned, this is going to be a Quas Wex Invoker, so his last hitting damage isn't going to be that great. He sits at 48 right now, and this is really a great opportunity for Shadow Fiend to get going in a positive way without having to have a support in the lane. I'm pretty much, this is ideal circumstances for him right now. On the bottom lane, we do see Darkseer being pinged out, and they're going to run in here, deal some damage to him. He has level 1 Surge, so not going to be able to do all too much damage back to Shadow Demon. Shadow Demon does force him out of experience temporarily. On the top lane, Bounty Hunter trying to get whatever he can. He does pick up level 2, so good job up here by Bounty Hunter to get some early experience going in his favor. On the bottom lane, once again, Han Cholo going to just follow Darkseer around, and that does pop off, chained up with a nice disruption, but he's going to be able to surge out of here. He takes about half his health in damage, but plenty of regen on him right now. Meanwhile, in the jungle, we do have Nature's Prophet, so these are a couple of heroes that can cope pretty effectively with the off-lane Darkseer. If they're able to force him to eat up all those tangos, and it looks like that's why he opts to eat the salve early on. In fact, top lane, Bounty Hunter's in a little bit of trouble. The Ice Path just narrowly misses, and Confused will be able to back up safely here. But if they're able to force him to eat through all those tangos, then certainly Nature's Prophet can come in with great effectiveness on a gank attempt. On top of the fact that they already have two skills that work very well against Darkseer. Middle lane, Exuent doing some nice damage to Invoker. some good auto attacks. So now that he's gotten a lot of his stacks up, already at 12, he's going to have a nice little advantage here. Of course, Invoker can throw some nice harass damage back at him if he decides to use off the, Cold Snap, as the name of the skill evades me for a moment. We also see a rotation in from Bounty Hunter. Bounty Hunter's level 2, so he has a decent amount of damage output, but nothing too significant. Invoker with no Wex yet. It's a decent opportunity to try and go on him and get an early kill, but they'd require a pretty big dive, and diving into a Cold Snap ready Invoker doesn't always result the way you want it to, since that tower damage is going to come out, and you're going to be stuck under there for quite some time. Courier coming out, it's going to deliver early bottle to Shadow Fiend, and he will get some rune control going as Illusion spawns on the bottom. They did have vision in the middle lane, but the lane was too pushed for Invoker to contest that. Doesn't want to relinquish an experienced lead. Let's bring up our last hits and denies and be able to track how well everyone is doing. It looks like Invoker 7 for 0 against 12 for 5 on that Shadow Fiend. So, like I mentioned, really lucky start picking up that double damage rune. And against the Quas Wex Invoker, that's going to work wonders for him. Now we do see Choryu forced to pop off the Surge. He's actually going to run into Shadow Demon here. Shadow Demon going to consider using Disruption, but he decides not to. And it would have been difficult to take him down anyway. And it looks like Shadow Demon's going to let Naga Siren get a lot of this experience down here. It's the right decision. And if Naga Siren isn't contested for quite some time, of course she can build up and be very effective. I'm curious to see what the item choices are going to be. Once again, a very early Surge, and now he could be in trouble as Nature's Prophet's coming in from behind. He can throw down a Sprout momentarily if he wants to, but he's actually just going to put auto attacks on, and Darkseer is going to back up. He had no tangos left, so they probably would have got a little bit more harass damage, but the kill wasn't there for the taking. And now it looks like behind the tower, they're going to try and apply some pressure to Bounty Hunter, force him out of here. Bounty Hunter wants to stay here for the experience. He's level 3, and he'll pick up some of this XP as the tower is mowing through these range creeps. And not much Jakiro and Sven can do under the tower yet against this Bounty Hunter. So he'll be okay. And once again, Shadow Fiend's picking up a rune. It's going to be invisibility this time. He's 16 for 8 against 11 for 2. So still a nice lead in the middle. It's not anything too devastating for Invoker. Meanwhile, 25 for 9 on our Sven player. He's leading the game in free farm. Only 14 for 6 on Naga Siren. That's very interesting. I mentioned before her base damage got lowered significantly after we used to see her all the time in competitive play. And it does make last hitting a little bit more difficult with her. She still has a decent animation, but she has free farm, and you can see her missing the last hit here. These are missed opportunities. 2 there in a free farm lane, and in the long run, this is really going to hurt Kenya Ring if they're not able to convert all of the free farm given to them on this bottom lane. We do see rotation from Darkseer to the jungle, so he's going to try and make a living there now. A decent decision, as he does not have any regen, though, so he's going to have to head back to the base in a moment. NYJohn going to continue to apply some pressure to Invoker, and having that rune control is really working wonders for him, allowing him to spam out more raises and have his way in this middle lane. Now we see Bounty Hunter gets pinged out. Actually, he pings, and they're going to consider jumping in here, but Bounty Hunter pops out of Invis. He's only level 4. He hasn't been able to get too much going on the top lane, so reasonable enough for him to try and roam and assert himself elsewhere. Now we do see supports are going to come into play. Shadow Demon gets spotted by a Dire Ward walking towards the middle. Not sure if he's going to be able to make anything else out of it because of that. Invoker does have his phase boots up. NYJohn with 400 gold in the bank. Courier's not moving, so I'm assuming that's all he has. Ward placed by Han Cholo, but it is spotted by Jakiro, I believe. So perhaps going to be countered momentarily. With the 2 versus 2 scenario here in the middle lane, I think Shadow Fiend has to be a little bit careful. There's more disables on the side of the Dire. Shadow Fiend, with such a great start, doesn't want to drop and take any deaths early on in this game. One of the heroes, of course, in Shadow Fiend, that if he can get going early, can be one of the strongest heroes in the game, no doubt. It's a matter of how soon he can get that BKB and be a real strong presence in those team fights. And Jakiro going to continue to stay in this middle lane. He's level 3. There goes an Ice Path. It's actually not going to be close to hitting, so Shadow Fiend will be fine. Not too concerned. Let's check out the farm on Nature's Prophet. We haven't looked at it yet. He has 500 or 600 gold in the bank. He also has Gloves of Haste, so probably going to be working towards a Midas. It's 6 minutes and 45 seconds into the game. He hasn't really gotten into a kill yet. On the bottom lane, though, we do see an attempt onto Darkseer yet again. In comes Nature's Prophet from the side. Surge used, but he's caught with the net. Meanwhile, middle lane, first blood does come out, but now second blood drawn by Naga Siren on Darkseer. Invoker drops solo to Shadow Fiend. It looks like Jakiro must have just backed up, and Shadow Fiend takes full advantage, picking up a kill there on the middle. Very well done. I'm not sure. That shouldn't really happen, despite the fact that he had a decent lead. I mean, Invoker with a cold snap should be able to get out of most threats. He must have taken 2 raises, and that would have done the job. Confused on Bounty Hunter, now 5.5. Looking for that level 6 desperately. He's hovering around the middle lane. Is spotted off by the rotation in by Keeper of the Light. Now 3 heroes here on this middle lane. They drop down a sentry as well. That should help out Invoker from any ganks. Bottom lane, they're bringing the push onto this tower. Nature's Prophet joining the effort. He brings out some treants. They throw an Ion Shell onto one. He's, of course, going to micro that away or just keep it on his creeps. Maybe a little bit of a mistake here. Riptide's going to pop off, but it looks like Cotton McKnight may be in trouble here. There's going to be Illuminate coming in a moment. Han Cholo wants to jump on this Darkseer, but he's not going to be able to do so as the rest of the supports rotate in. In fact, Cotton McKnight only has 1 more hit until he drops. They're going to pop off a Surge, but he goes the wrong way, and a misplay once again by Darkseer, and he's not going to find Naga Siren. I'm not sure he would have been able to convert the kill anyway, but surely worth an effort. He's sitting at 20 health. And, I mean, Naga has to be thanking his lucky stars to get away from that encounter. Now, Shadow Fiend back on the middle lane. He's going to push onto this Tier 1 tower. And he'll get a good amount of damage here as his auto attack damage is hitting for 140, let's see, 146, which is very nice for him. Bounty Hunter picks up level 6 on the top as he noticed the supports roaming out. Now it's a much more fair 1v1 with Sven here in the lane. The sentry that is in the lane is dropped back a little bit behind where the creep level is right now, so Bounty Hunter is going to be relatively safe. Sven, if he pops everything, probably can't kill him in one quick blow. Choryu going to get netted up on the bottom lane, but Naga Siren drops pretty low as well, so no threat of a death there. Thank you for everyone who's tuning in. This is SECS Sunday Evening Cup Series. I'm NYJohn, and we got a decent game going on here. 2 kills so far, 9 minutes in. It's Kenya Ring versus Rampage, and I mean, the free farm on Sven is there. So 58, 424. He has 250 gold in the bank. Courier's coming out to him. Let's see what it is. All Svens have different approaches. He's going to go for, it looks like drums, and he actually has them finished. So early drums for Sven. We talked in the draft about how there's a lot of coping mechanics on this Radiant team to slow down Sven and be able to kite him in fights. So maybe they're not that afraid of him getting the free farm. They prepared for that. But either way, Sven with any kind of abundance of farm is still scary. Middle lane tower is going to drop to 169, so very careful by Exuent to not put it in deny range. Well done, but he may be in trouble here now as the Ice Path flies off. They chin it up with the Cold Snap, and they're trying to bring in Nature's Prophet, but he's going to go down before anything else can happen. And now the Deafening Blast misses on Nature's Prophet. Nature's Prophet going to turn around and try and get a kill onto the Invoker, who gets disrupted up. Confused comes in, but he walks into the Ice Path, and now an Illuminate flies off. It takes down Confused to around half health, and they're going to have to retreat here. Invoker just narrowly surviving. Choryu comes in from the bottom lane as well. They're going to leave Naga Siren down here to get some more farm. He's 38 for 13, so one of the prime concerns I've had is that Naga Siren's free farm not comparable to that of the Sven. Now, Confused may be in some trouble as he throws down a track, but he gets hit by a nice little cold snap there, but there's not enough chain. It looks like a little bit of miscommunication. His team wasn't ready to jump on him. I'm not sure if they have any Viz detection. Let's investigate and take note of whether they do or not. They do not. So Bounty Hunter going to get away with a lot right now until they pick up some extra dust, some extra sentries. And Darkseer really suffering in this game, taking that early death. He's 18 for 0 in terms of CS, 300 gold in the bank, and he doesn't have any real items to speak of. Magic Wand and boots. It's not looking great for him. And in fact, from behind we have an invisible Shadow Demon. He's only level 4 though. And of course he's been giving up a lot of this experience to Naga Siren, wanting her to get everything she can in her favor. They're poised to set up some kind of gank attempt here. Naga Siren comes in. They use off the Soul Catcher, but he's able to retreat with a nice little Cold Snap coming out from Invoker, and it looks like Han Cholo is going to go down. A nice response from Invoker there, takes down Shadow Demon, and now Tornado's going to fly out, but it doesn't have enough range to catch Naga Siren, as she'll make it out of there just fine. She's level 8, has not picked up Song of the Siren yet, even as a safety net, if anything else. So that's a little bit surprising as well, but she wants to maximize her duration on Ensnare, which can counteract the Surge, I suppose. So not a bad idea. It's just, if they're trying to bring on extra troops, not having that song is going to be costly for her. And in fact, there's still a couple of heroes down here in the area. Cotton McKnight, excuse me, has to be careful when popping his head into the lane. And some action going towards the top lane. It looks like Illusion Rune's going to be bottled by Shadow Fiend. He also has Ogre Club in his inventory, working towards that BKB, that inevitable item pickup from most Shadow Fiend players. Middle lane, Invoker's going to eat a raise here. And these raises are really hurting him as he doesn't have that much farm going on. He pops off the illusions, going to go for the tower kill, and he actually gets it. There was an opportunity for maybe a deny there, but not able to convert on it. And it looks like Sven trades with Bounty Hunter? Let's see, Shadow Demon actually. So Sven picks up a kill on Shadow Demon, but Bounty Hunter cleans up the kill on Sven. Of course, Bounty Hunter with that track, probably going to get better out of that exchange. And now he puts a track up onto Jakiro. Illuminate flies off. They drop down a sentry. A couple more hits will do the job onto him, but will he make it out? They drop down Macro Pyre, but it's not going to hit him. And Bounty Hunter just narrowly surviving as Jakiro throws out everything he has to try and pick up that last hit. And it just does not pan out for him. Meanwhile, back in the middle lane, Invoker trying to pick up his farm. He's 37 for 3. It pales in comparison with Shadow Fiend, who's 65 for 20 now. So doing a really good job. Of course, Shadow Fiend with the raise is able to farm much more effectively as we reach the middle stages of the early game, or even transition to the mid game. Nature's Prophet does have that Midas up. Now it looks like he's going to work towards a mech. That should be up soon as well. Let's actually check the chicken. Maybe it's finished. Nope. The components are ready. He needs the final recipe to have that up. An item choice I really like on Nature's Prophet, since he can make the most out of it, of course, with teleport, being able to be present in most gank scenarios. Meanwhile, a lot of pressure coming out from an aggressive Nagasiren. Does pick up Arcane Boots. Also has Ring of Bassi, 2,000 gold to bank. I'm curious to see if this is going to be a Radiance attempt. I mean, I'm not against it. The problem is that I think they want a little bit more early aggression. Maybe I would like to see a Diffusal instead, but we'll have to see. Now Shadow Fiend is actually going to contest the rune, picks up a DD, but puts himself in harm's way, gets hit by the Cold Snap. They're going to try and chain off. Can they get a second disable here? In fact, Sven coming in from the side as well. They throw off the Tornado. Shadow Fiend could be in a lot of trouble here. The stun from the Stormhammer, and he's down. But he does do a lot of damage. In fact, Bounty Hunter going to come in and clean up the Keeper of the Light. Bounty Hunter picking up a kill off the back end of that, and you saw the chunk of damage done by that Shuriken toss, and then the last hit comes out from him. Well played there, and now Nagasiren dies in the bottom lane as well. TP in, Invoker getting involved, helping out Darkseer to convert that kill. The kill does go to the Dire team. No individual picking up the gold, but nonetheless, a good effort there, as Nagasiren was certainly overextending at this point, up very far in that lane. Now it looks like Nature's Prophet very close to finishing up that mech. He's going to have that momentarily. It's 5-5 in terms of hero kills, so Rampage, Dota, and Kenny Ring members showing a pretty even effort thus far. Let's investigate, look into our graphs. 2,500 gold advantage for the Radiant, and about 1,500 experience advantage. Pretty negligible, all things considered. So not going to really concern yourselves with that. It's a very even game. And the question is, who's going to be able to make the bigger move soon? No team is really committed to 5-man Dota. We're at the 15.5 minute mark. So we'll see if any team wants to start making this into a team fight effort. If they want to contest Roshan soon, these could be breaking points that could really open up this game. And Shadow Fiend, with 1,200 gold in the bank, needs to get that BKB. He's farming up some souls right now. Also has DD ready. On the side, though, we do have Sven in the area. He picks up an early Mask of Madness, and this could be trouble for Shadow Fiend yet again. He's far up in the lane, but Sven doesn't want to commit to it, as he is pretty low on health, and if he pops off that Mask of Madness, one raise and an auto attack could deal him in. And it looks like in the river, though, Bounty Hunter is going to jump on top of Invoker. He picks up a haste rune as well, so it's certainly going to help him out. In from the side comes Nature's Prophet. He uses the Sprout to catch Invoker in there. Deafening Blast is going to hit on 2, but doesn't hit on Bounty Hunter, and now Disruption is going to set up a nice kill here onto Invoker. Well done. Good team response there from the Radiant. Now they're looking to this Tier 2 tower here. Perhaps going to try and push this one in. Keeper of the Light going to spam off some Illuminates to slow it down. Jakiro's in the area too. Meanwhile, Nagasiren is still sticking to this bottom lane. Now does have Song up. It looks like she tried to get away with it last time, as it's on cooldown. 2,700 gold in the bank, so I have to assume this is going to be Radiant's build, but
The Dire best do
it's not going to have the best timing on it that we've ever seen. So take that into consideration and make of it what you will. The mech is full and up now for Nature's Prophet. We have Bounty Hunter sitting on phase boots as well as a poor man's shield. And 1,500 gold, so not too bad considering he had a pretty poor start. Doesn't really have any CS going for him, but he has 3 kills and 1 assist, so amplified by the track gold is a pretty good amount. You see the stacks here, the Ancients. It's 1, 2, 3 stacks going for them. We'll see when they want to make an attempt to try and farm that, if perhaps they're going to try and ward it first. There's a ward on the high ground. Now, Track's going to fly off onto Jakiro. Jakiro going to look for Bounty Hunter here. There's a lot of Dire team heroes, and Bounty Hunter has to be a little bit careful. Sentries on Jakiro as well to detect the invisibility. Bounty Hunter's going to sneak out from behind. Nature's Wrath pops off. Deals a good amount of damage to everybody. And 1 auto attack onto Bounty Hunter, but he'll make it out just fine. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Shadow Fiend continues to farm. Now only 700 gold away from finishing off that entire BKB. He can also put some pressure on this tower as they know the whole team is down there on the bottom. In fact, they're going to jump onto Naga Siren. The disruption to try and save her for a moment. Can she get the sleep off? She tries to get it, but in the animation, she's taken down. Naga Siren not able to make it out of there. Han Cholo's going to try and TP out of here as well. And he does just barely make it out. Shadow Fiend's going to nuke away, but he needs to get out of here quickly. In comes Darkseer, but he has no mana from the side, though. Sven's in here. Stormhammer's going to pop in a moment. He already pops off God's Strength, and here we go. Can he make it out alive? Shadow Fiend, a couple more hits will do the job, and down he goes. Sven picking up a nice kill on Shadow Fiend, and now the kill lead in favor of Rampage for the first time this game. Looking pretty strong, 7 against 6. And the free farm, I have to go back to that point again. Sven with the free farm, 120 over 26. It's just leagues beyond that of what Naga Siren was able to accomplish. And as such, I think they are going to have a nice little advantage going towards the mid-game. Was Shadow Fiend able to purchase up? No, he did not have enough gold. Couldn't purchase up the recipe for BKB before he died. So that's another setback. We're looking at maybe a 21, 22-minute BKB now, which isn't going to be that impressive. It looks like Bounty Hunter's actually going to rotate in here. They're going to go for Invoker. Can they bring someone up from the side? Yes, Naga Siren's coming in. Going to throw the net down here. A nice EMP is going to drain some of the mana. Can Invoker make it out of this? I don't think so, and there it is, the ensnare. It's enough for the kill. Bounty Hunter picking it up, and a lot of assist on that one. That's a good amount of gold for the Radiant side. Let's bring up our net worth and check out where everyone stands. 8,000 gold on Sven, 6,200 on our Midas, Nature's Prophet. And here it comes, the first hint of 5-man Dota coming out on the bottom lane from the Radiant team as NYJohn joins the rest of his squad, pushing forward towards this Tier 2. Tier 2 sitting just above half health. Illuminate's going to fly out, dodged by all the heroes, but it does deal a good amount of damage to the wave as you would expect. Now Net going to fly out once again. Con McKnight getting right there in the middle of it. Has the sleep if he wants to, but they're trying to finish off Keeper of the Light, and he's able to taken down by the Shuriken toss from Bounty Hunter. Well done there. And now Shadow Fiend's going to bottle up a little bit. They're going to have a lot of control over this bottom lane push. Just the threat of the song is really scaring back the Dire team. And this is going to be a free tower. Let's see what they want to make off the back end of it. That's a little bit more interesting than the tower itself. Are they going to move towards this Roche pit? I mean, with the song up, they're going to actually smoke, it looks like, maybe here. As the pings fly out. Nope. Just the back.
Radiant's mid tower's coming up.
And now let's see. Courier has BKB finished for Shadow Fiend. It has drums finished for someone else, and Vlad's as well. So a couple items going to make their way out to the heroes soon. And now we see Bounty Hunter has 3,500 gold in the bank. So he's sitting on a small fortune. Naga Siren's going to pop off this song as she was hit by the Drain Magic or Drain Chakra. And now Darkseer is going to come in. I don't know if she's going to be able to escape here, though. Tornado flies. It's actually off target. And Naga Siren should be just fine. And here we go. Rotate back towards the middle lane. Bounty Hunter in pursuit of Sven. Sven's backing up. He'll be okay. He has 2,200 gold in the bank, and now it looks like Choryu may be in trouble. And Darkseer going to take some good damage here. In comes Nature's Prophet from the side. He does get him into a wall, but no immediate team support there. And in the end, it's going to be essentially nothing. So another track kill going to the Radiant. And the Dire can't afford to keep trading like this. They need to probably group up and force the team fights. They were looking sound all of 4 minutes ago, but now giving up a couple silly kills, and it's really hurting them. And the towers are also being taken down. A little bit surprised the Radiant are trying to force the issue in the top lane. It looks like they're going to make something out of middle sooner than that. Both of those items we saw in the courier, drums and Vlads, are both out for Naga Siren. So Naga Siren now sitting at around 1,300 health. Doesn't really output a lot of damage, but she's acting as kind of like a pseudo-support hero. And I guess that's one of the utilities of having a Shadow Fiend in your lineup. He's a carry, of course, through and through, but can play that middle lane role decently, as he really had a good game against Invoker early on. Now we do see Naga Siren hit by an Ice Path here, chained up with a Tornado. EMP will fly. It's going to drain off some of the mana from both of these heroes. Disruption to try and save her. Illuminate will catch her on the back end. She's down to around half health, but that's going to be that, as both teams look to disengage. And here we go. Sven's just going to farm off these Ancients, and this is going to be a hefty amount of gold for him, as now he has 1,900 more gold. I'm assuming that's going to be his BKB finished. We'll see if he actually purchased up. Yep, it should be his BKB completed. And from the side, though, we see Sven able to take down Bounty Hunter. Darkseer takes down Shadow Demon. Shadow Fiend, though, gets an ultimate off, and now he's going to try and take down everyone else. He kills two. Sven's down. Jakiro's down. Choryu trying to rotate out of here. Shadow Demon, or Shadow Fiend rather, trying to work on Invoker, but the other three heroes are going to be able to make it out, and it ends up being a 2-for-3 trade. The early kill on Bounty Hunter is so crucial for the Dire team, and they do lose Sven, but it looks like they make out better out of that fight. You have to believe, taking down both Naga Siren and BH and NYJohn. Even though he was able to get off a good ultimate, his team support wasn't there to really keep anyone in place for him to bash down on, and that caused a major issue in his damage output. So, decent fight for both teams, but you have to believe the Dire made out a little bit better. I wasn't sure if maybe Bounty Hunter got a track or two off there. He probably got one off at most. As such, it's probably relatively even. We could check out the graphs and see what they have to say about it. 5,000 gold lead for the Radiant. 500 experience lead for the Dire. Experience is going to be very negligible. The gold lead, 5,000. I mean, net worth has just pulled ahead for Nature's Prophet as well as Shadow Fiend. So this is going to be nice things to take into consideration. But now Sven just does pop up once again, over 10,000 gold now. So let's check out Sven and see. He has that BKB finish. I'm not sure he had it in the last fight, which it could have been one of the contributing factors to his death. And he's just going to continue to farm and move down the middle lane. There's still a tier 1 standing here, as well as in the bottom lane. So not a lot of tower kills going for the Dire team, and that can account for why their net gold is a little bit lower in terms of the team amounts. From the side, we do see Bounty Hunter coming in here. And this is the stage of the game where you consider perhaps picking up a gem. He jumps on top of Keeper of Light, and with that Desolator, he does so much damage. And now it looks like Power tries to turn on Confused, but Confused not going to be scared of Power, as there is no detection there. Invoker does have a completed 4-staff, so nice little pickup for him, but pretty late in the game, I'd say. After the 23-minute mark, he probably had it. Mishi's going to get netted up here, but Cotton McKnight can't really follow up with much damage. Actually, Nature's Prophet going to make his way in and try and make something more out of this. He has Mid-Orbit in addition to his normal items, and here comes Confused from the side, throws a track up, and Mishi overplaying, but he's able to take down Bounty Hunter! Oh, and a huge kill to at least get something out of nothing. Bounty Hunter, being a little bit too confident there, walks into a Mask of Madness, God Strength, Sven, and he gets melted. Well played. Wow. And I think that has to be overconfidence. I mean, he didn't have to get in base contact. Janata Strike would have helped, but it looked like he was going to go down either way. And now it looks like Shadow Fiend is going to pick up a Blink Dagger. So going to try and get off those perfect ultimates. It's a little bit surprising. I'm not sure it's a necessary item. It's probably more so for Pursuit, which you can see the utility in that. But when you have a Naga Siren, she should be able to set up the ultimate pretty well. And therefore, I'm not sure Blink is as great of a choice. I'd like to see something like a Manta, perhaps, just so he has a little bit more survivability. Let's check out our other heroes. We've been focused on the top end of this net worth. Let's see where the shortcomings are. It looks like Darkseer hasn't been able to really rebound from a poor start in that off lane. He's at 5,000 gold in net worth. And we also see Invoker at 6,300. So these two heroes, slight burdens for their team, but you know, that being said, they both are pretty level reliant, and they have decent levels sitting at 13 and level 14. So that's not that bad. They could still make something happen here. We're just going to have to see some brilliant team fights from either side to kind of create a decisive advantage before we can distinguish who's actually in a big lead. And this could be a Roche attempt. Interesting, as we see Greevil, Roshan in effect, and there's a lot of heroes. They're pushing down to tier 1, so this is going to be a tier 1 trade for Roche, and it's definitely going to be worthwhile for the Dire if they can respond and save this tier 2. They do pop the glyph for the tier 1 to delay it a little bit further, so well played there. Sven going to pick up an Aegis, and that's going to be huge for them. The question is, if they lose the tier 2, then it becomes a less valuable trade, and they're actually going to farm the Ancients here, as a lot of heroes are going to rotate up towards that tier 2. So going to contest it. That's the right decision. And here we go. Ice Path flies off to slow down the creep wave. Ultimate Popeye, Keeper of the Light. He's going to shoot off an Illuminate here. We have every skill used on Sven from Darks here. Ion Shell as well as Surge. There's one hero not here, and it is Shadow Demon. He's on the bottom lane. So I don't think they're going to want to take a fight, really. I think they're just going to threaten the push, give some extra time and space, and then pop off the song if they have to, and make their way out of here. The only issue with that is that BKB is up on Sven, and he has an Aegis, so he's not going to be too afraid to try and fight through the song, whereas normally it would be not great idea. Mid tower is being pushed naturally by the creep wave here, put into deny range by the catapults. And it looks like Cotton McKnight will get a deny on this tower here momentarily as Catapult goes for the last hit. Oh, and it's just picked up by Naga Siren. So nice deny there. Close call for certain. Confused with only a Desolator, so he went a very risky build, but it seems to have paid off. He's 7-2-2. Doesn't have as many assists as you usually see on a Bounty Hunter, but he's able to convert a lot of those kills. It compensates for his lack of CS. Nice play coming out from him thus far in the game. And we're at the 29-minute mark, and I mean, this is the first round, so we've seen a good game here. And hopefully we'll have more coming forth after this. Both teams still really in this game. Bounty Hunter going to farm off on the bottom a little bit. Sven, let's see what he's going to work towards. 1,300 gold in the bank. He has a Chrysalis on the Courier. So it will be a Chrysalis pickup. And it looks like he doesn't... Here, it will come out to him in a moment, unless he wants to get another TP. He may have to sell an item. I'm not sure what the timing was on the Aegis, actually. Let's double check that. So 3.5 minutes or so left on the Aegis before they have to worry about it expiring. So probably going to see them group up, the Dire team that is, and force more of a team engagement soon. And that would be the correct decision, I believe. They definitely want to get the most out of that Aegis. If they're able to force Sven to be targeted down, let him come back, get off the BKB, Mask of Madness, God Strength, he can really melt through this enemy team. The question is going to be who gets the better jump in the team fight. If Naga Siren can set it up perfectly, or if perhaps it can be interrupted by Rampage. And they're just content with trading towers right now, as the tier 1's going to go down the bottom lane. Wrath of Nature popped off. They're going to go for the tier 2 here. Tier 2 low on health, no glyph available, so this is going to be taken down rather easily. Everyone TPing in, but it's going to be all for naught, as the tower is already destroyed by the Radiant team. Can you ring members? Nature's Prophet with a completed sheep now. Very valuable pickup, of course, on him. Inducing Naga Siren picking up an Eagle Song. So, interesting choice there. Shadow Fiend with a Bottled Haste rune. Shadow Demon on that full support duty. Doesn't really have anything going on in terms of items. Keeper of Light going to ward the High Rock. And this could be an opportunity for them to look for the fight. I mean, they're getting close to that expiration time. They need to try and make something out of this sooner than later. And illusions coming in from Naga Siren. Heroes all around, scattered a little bit. They're actually split. And they're going to throw off a tornado here. It's going to barely catch Shadow Demon. And now EMP is going to be chained off on the back end of it. And they're going to catch it with a Cold Snap. He's taken down. A nice little pickoff there for the Dire team. onto Shadow Demon, and that was an interesting split by the Radiant. They do lose a support hero, but could have been worse, as we did see Invoker has picked up a gem. So nice pickup on him. He also has a Ghost Scepter to try and dodge some of that damage coming out from Bounty Hunter, as well as Shadow Fiend. Thank you for joining me. This is Sunday Evening Cup Series. I'm NYJohn. I hope you're enjoying Rampage Dota versus Can You Ring members. This is the first round, so we still have a bunch of games ahead of us. I'm going to try and tough it up and make it through all of them. And it looks like, perhaps Rampage, they've just evened things out in terms of hero kills. 1 minute left on the Aegis. We'll see if they have the timing correct on it. Daedalus now completed on Sven. This has to be the timing they're looking for. He is huge. And, I mean, his net worth, 14,000. He's about 1,000 more than Nature's Prophet. Now, Song of the Siren flies off from Naga. Can they set this up? Looks like Blink into the middle. Actually, it's going to time it. He gets off the ultimate. It does a huge amount of damage. Invoker's already low, but Sven is going to pop off everything. He turns on the Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend dropping really low, but he's ensnared. And they're able to take down 4. 4 heroes are dead for the Radiant. The last man standing is Nature's Prophet. He's being body blocked by an invisible Invoker. And now they're going to go on him. He sprouts himself to try and get away, but a huge team fight for the Dire. Rampage Dota run train on Can You Ring in the top lane. Nothing going right. Shadow Fiend getting the ult up, but then taking so much damage from Sven, forced out of the fight. And oh my, that was huge. And now they may very well get a Rax off the back end of this. Glyph is available. They're going to try and delay it as long as possible. And here comes the early Glyph pop. 40 seconds left on Nature's Prophet before he comes back. 20 seconds on Shadow Fiend. And this is going to be difficult for the Radiant team to rebound from. And that was the big team fight we were waiting for. Really hadn't had many team fights in the entirety of the game. 34 minutes underway until that last one just occurred. And wow, Rampage Dota asserting themselves in a big way. Shadow Demon retreats towards the middle. And they're going to take down Amelie Barracks and back up here. Huge plays from the Dire. Huge plays. And now they have a huge advantage. Timing on Roche is around 3.5 minutes as well. So they're going to probably wait for that, go for the second Roche, and then try and march right through them. Sven is obnoxiously big now. He has 2,800 gold in the bank. Can get rid of those drums, pick up another item as he pleases. Maybe we'll see something like a heart coming up soon. And, it was an ideal start. Everyone was slept. Shadow Fiend got off the ultimate, took down a lot of those heroes, but they couldn't convert any of those kills. And, part of it can be because Bounty Hunter didn't go for the BKB. He went for the early damage, but they were able to turn around, put some disables onto him, and kill him as well. They were able to ensnare Sven, and it just still didn't work out. So, moving forward, it's going to be questionable on whether they can really contest them in these big teamfight scenarios. We're probably going to see some smokes fly out soon and try and make some smaller pickoffs. And here comes the tornado. It's actually going to hit Confused. And with the gem, they're going to be able to spot him off here. Stormhammer flies. They take away most of his mana, but he gets some back with the Magic Wand. Sleep comes in for Cotton McKnight and trying to save his teammate. Cotton McKnight puts himself in harm's way, but he'll be okay as he slowly backs out there. And now they're going to push down the middle lane. Rampage Dota taking a nice little lead over Can You Ring members, the winner of SECS 2 weeks ago. They had to be the favorites moving in. I'm not too familiar with Rampage. I mentioned some of the player names look vaguely familiar, but this has to be some sort of an upset. If it does stand this way, I'm not sure Can You Ring is out of it, but they really need to perhaps some more of this play coming out from Nature's Prophet now. Some off-pushing, create some solo gank opportunities. Rampage, though, probably going to have to throw a little bit to create an opening now. The farm is just too much on Sven. He's 4,000 gold higher than Nature's Prophet, 6,000 more than Shadow Fiend. And, Naga Siren isn't even really in the discussion in terms of farm. Working towards what looks like is going to be a butterfly, but still her damage output is going to be negligible in the grand scheme of things. Here we go. It looks like Invoker's going to walk into a couple illusions from Naga. Some heroes grouped up over the river from the Radiant team. Not sure what they're going to look to do. Roche is going to be back up in a minute. They could have that timing down. Maybe they're going to try and stage their final battle there. They do have Smoke up as well, so they could make it in. Gem is up on Invoker, though, so Smoke isn't going to do all too much. Shadow Fiend is going to farm off this top lane as the Super Creeps are pushing in. 1,700 gold on him. He also has that Demon Edge up now, so perhaps working towards MKB. Aggressive push forward from Rampage. They're going into the jungle of their opposition. Not too afraid at this stage of the game. Dropping down a couple wards, and snare comes on Jakiro. Jakiro turns around, throws an ice path. It catches only one, and the blinding light tosses Nagasiren out of the fight. In comes Exu, and he pops off a BKB, and now he's going to retreat, but Sven's popped off everything. He's going to try and kill Naga, and down goes Naga. He turns around. They're working on everyone else. A nice vacuum sets it up, and 3 more kills for the Dire team. Down goes Nature's Prophet, Shadow Fiend, and Shadow Demon. They turn around. They're going to get a Roche here, and now it looks like this is going to be GG in favor of the Dire team. Bounty Hunter's just desperately pushing the middle. Aegis is not even picked up. And I'm not sure who they're gonna put it on. They get rid of a TP and actually throw on Invoker. Gonna bring up the middle lane, and I mean, this is out of hand now. Giving up free farm to Sven and not getting enough in exchange seems to be the biggest issue for Can You Ring members. I mean, we looked at the CS numbers early on, and they were there for Sven. They weren't there for Nagasiren, but both of them were in the same scenario. They had an offlaner that couldn't do anything against them, so it should have been comparable. And, I mean, that being said, Nagasiren isn't really in the same league as Sven right now by any stretch of the imagination. It looks like Can You Ring members went out on a limb to try and pick her and use her to... Uh-oh, Bounty Hunter's in trouble here on the top lane. Tornado flies off, and he's actually going to go down yet again. And as I was mentioning, it looks like they went on a limb. They tried to take her to make the most out of a Shadow Fiend pick. It just didn't pan out. And nothing more can really be said about that. Well played by Rampage. GG is called. And that's going to be it for the first game of Sunday Evening Cup Series. I'm NYJohn. Thank you for tuning in. I'll have a second game coming up for you as soon as a second game is available. I hope you enjoyed the cast. Stay tuned for more Dota action. Mishi's just going to melt through these towers. We'll stick around for a minute to see what the final scores are. And here we go. There goes the throne. So that's it. Rampage Dota are going to advance, I believe. I have to check what the format is. I think it might have been changed. And a brilliant performance from Mishi. I mean, getting the free farm on a Sven. We see time and time again how that pans out for teams. It seemed like there were some options in place from the Radiant team to cope with that. The team fights just never went their way. I mean, by the time they really started the 5-man Dota, the lead was fairly insurmountable. And final go per minute on Sven is 661. So a really strong performance there from Rampage. Look forward to seeing them in the next round. And we'll have that coverage as soon as it's available. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.